struggle of that dwarf ghost against joy, for he had almost been overcome. Somewhere, incalculable ages ago, there must have been gleams of humor and reason in him. For one moment, while she looked at him in her love and mirth, he saw the absurdity of the tragedian. I think this is a good word to unpack because, like, absurdity doesn't just mean, oh, that's ridiculous. It means taken to an extreme. If we think about the ad absurdum argument, it's the most extreme thing. Like, if we carry this all the way out to its, you know, telos, where does that get us? And then, so it's an extreme example. That's what absurdity is when I read that word. But the light that reached him against his will. This was not the meeting he had pictured. He would not accept it. Once more he clutched at his death line, and at once the tragedian spoke. You dare to laugh at it, it stormed, to my face. And this is my reward. Very well. It is fortunate that you give yourself no concern about my fate. Otherwise, you might be sorry afterward to think that you had driven me back to hell. What? Do you think I'd stay now? Thank you. I believe I'm fairly quick at recognizing when I'm not wanted. Not needed was the exact expression, if I remember rightly. So it's like, oh, I'm going to cherry pick something out. I'm going to use my confirmation bias to get where I already want to go anyway, which is, what I'm predicting, because it affords me some, it minimizes my surprisal in the world. I'm going to integrate a little bit of active inference stuff here. So Carl Friston posits the idea of the active inference model. And that is that active inference agents act in such a way as to reduce their surprisal, which is the difference between the predictions and the actual feedback from the environment. And, this can be done two ways, either by being more in touch with reality or imposing something, an overlay on reality, which is delusion. So here we see the delusional strategy employed. It's like he's got this prediction of being rejected, and he's imposing that on the situation and pulling something out, because the outcome that he wants is he's in the bottom of a pit and he wants someone to be in there with him. Misery loves company, right? He doesn't want out of the pit. From this time on, the dwarf never spoke again, but still the lady addressed it. Dear, no one sends you back. Here is all joy. Everything bids you stay. But the dwarf was growing smaller, even while he spoke. Yes, said the tragedian, on terms you might offer to a dog. I happen to have some self-respect left. He doesn't. And I see that my going will make no difference to you. It is nothing to you that I go back to the cold and the gloom, the lonely, lonely streets. Don't, Frank, said the lady. Don't let it talk like that. But the dwarf was now so small that she had dropped on her knees to speak to it. The tragedian caught her words greedily as a dog catches a bone. Ah, you can't bear to hear it, he shouted with miserable triumph. That was always the way. You must be sheltered. Grim realities must be kept out of your sight. You who can be happy without me, forgetting me. You don't want even to hear of my sufferings. You say, don't tell you, don't make you unhappy. Don't break it on your sheltered, self-centered little heaven. And this is the reward. She stooped still lower to speak to the dwarf, which was now a figure no bigger than a kitten, hanging on the end of a chain with his feet off the ground. That wasn't why I said don't, she answered. I mean, stop acting. It's no good. He is killing you. Let go of that chain, even now. Here, the prophilicity, authenticity thing is pretty relevant. Acting, screamed the tragedian. "What do you mean?" The dwarf was now so small that I could not distinguish him from the chain to which he was clinging, and now for the first time I could not be certain whether the lady was addressing him or the tragedian. "Quick," she said, "there is still time. Stop it. Stop it at once." "Stop what?" "Using pity. Other people's pity in the wrong way. We have all done it a bit on earth, you know. Pity was meant to be a spur that drives joy to help misery. But it can be used the wrong way around. It can be used for a kind of blackmailing. Those who choose misery can hold joy up to ransom by pity. You see, I know now. Even as a child you did it. Instead of saying you were sorry, you went and sulked in the attic, because you knew that sooner or later one of your sisters would say, 'I can't bear to think of him sitting up there alone crying.' You used their pity to blackmail them. And they gave in the end. And afterwards, when we were married, oh, it doesn't matter, if you will only stop it." "And that," said the tragedian, "that is all you have understood of me after all these years?" I don't know what had become of the dwarf ghost by now. Perhaps it was climbing up the chain like an insect. Perhaps it was somehow absorbed into the chain. "No, Frank, not here," said the lady. "Listen to reason. Did you think joy was created to live always under that threat? Always defenseless against those who would rather be miserable than have their self-will crossed? For it was real misery. I know that now. You made yourself really wretched. That you can still do. But you can no longer communicate your wretchedness." And here communicate isn't just the way I'm reading it. It's not just speaking. It's like communicable disease. Like it can be spread. You can't spread that here. "Here is joy that cannot be shaken. Our light can swallow up your darkness." Not too long back, McGilchrist brought up the very important point about the asymmetry of opposites. And actually, the title of this book, The Great Divorce, is a reaction to William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, which I haven't read myself, but I am guessing that there's a presumption of symmetry between these opposites of heaven and hell. And here Lewis is saying no. There's no symmetry. Our light can swallow up your darkness. One can accommodate the other, but not the other way around. "No, no. Come to us. We will not go to you. Can you really have thought love and joy would always be at the mercy of frowns and sighs? Did you not know they were stronger than their opposites? Love, how dare you use that sacred word," said the tragedian. At the same moment he gathered up the chain which now for some time had been swinging uselessly at his side, and somehow disposed of it. I'm not quite sure, but I think he swallowed it. Then, for the first time, it became clear that the lady saw and addressed him only. "Where is Frank?" she said. "And who are you, sir? I never knew you. Perhaps you had better leave me. Or stay if you prefer. If it would help you, and if it were possible, I would go down with you into hell. But you cannot bring hell into me." "You do not love me," said the tragedian in a thin, bat-like voice. And he was now very difficult to see. "I cannot love a lie," said the lady. "I cannot love the thing which is not. I am in love, and out of it I will not go."